Facebook, they are still saying, is the most dominant social network, but this seems like a big drop over just 6 months. How big a deal is this?
Well, if they don't do anything, it is a big deal. And they have done things like they bought Instagram, and that went from 12% to 17%. So if you look at that 9% drop, which is a pretty big drop, they gained 5% of that back with Instagram. So, think of this as a 4% drop, which is notable. And I think this kind of confirms some of the suspicions from investors that Facebook is losing a little bit with teens. And this is a big sample. We talked to 5,200 teens. Typically, we do 5,000 or more teens. We've been doing this for the past 8 years. And so this has been a good job of kind of picking trends. And so I think from a longer-term perspective, this kind of speaks to why Facebook continues to need to innovate the product and probably make acquisitions to keep the brand fresh with teens.
Yet companies like Snapchat and WhatsApp have made it clear they don't have any intentions of selling, at least as far as we know. I mean, if these companies aren't going to sell like Instagram did to Facebook, what options does Facebook have?
Well, I mean, they say they're not going to sell. I would say that there's a price for everything. At the time where Facebook bought Instagram, the $1 billion that they paid was largely thought of as a gross overpayment on Facebook's part. Now, as we kind of see this playing out, that it was absolutely the right move. So to answer your questions, as I'm sure as these other sites, they could be hits and misses. I mean, I think Snapchat and WhatsApp probably aren't the next platforms of the future. But in general, the good news for Facebook is they've got a lot of market cap where they can issue stock and potentially buy some of these upstarts that can chip away at their franchise.
How does this impact the advertising situation at Facebook? I mean, how important are teens to advertising revenue and to the bottom line?
Well, they're relatively small. The real target market that's the most exciting is women 25 to 45, kind of that range. But so teens aren't as important, kind of consider it maybe 15% of the market. But, it is a trend that teens become adults at some point, and it's a trend that needs to be checked on. I think one important thing, and one of the reasons why we did not downgrade Facebook here, is because there's still a lot of room for Facebook to monetize the amount of time already spent. So even though time spent is decreasing, we believe it's decreasing based on this survey, they can still turn up the monetization on the existing time that they have. And so I think that's an important factor, important for advertisers, because they can continue to spend more and get additional eyeballs on Facebook.
Another thing you found is that more teens are using the iPhone, up to 48% from something like 40%, and yet Facebook is putting all of these resources behind Android with Facebook Home. What does that mean?
Well, it means, Facebook really wants to try to get into that whole Android community, call it 500 or 600 million active Android phones out there. They really want to try to capture that. Facebook Home, we've played around with it. It's, came out last Friday. It's kind of lukewarm reviews. I think that it's going to be something appealing to really the power users of Facebook, but probably most people are going to be a little bit annoyed by the fact it kind of takes your phone over. So I think Facebook Home is a unique way that Facebook can really tap into their power users, but it really doesn't change really any sort of the momentum in the game at this point.
All right. Gina, I also want to ask you about these reports that Microsoft is now working on a smartwatch as well. We've talked about how Apple is working on a smartwatch. Google says they're working on it. Samsung says they're doing it. Where is all of this going?
Well, it's going to wearable technologies as a real theme. I mean, we have our smartphones today, but in the future, it's probably going to be replaced by some form of wearable technology, whether it's watch or glasses. And, at least the good news with Microsoft in this case is that they're at least rumoring to be a part of it at the same time when everyone else is. Typically, if you look at the Zune or the Microsoft Surface, they're always way late to the game. So it's nice to see Microsoft at least talked about before these other players are out there. At the end of the day, Microsoft doesn't make good hardware. It's pretty simple. And whatever products they have, I don't want to rule it out, but it's hard to get optimistic about they're going to do anything exciting on the hardware side.
And then quickly, we're looking ahead to Yahoo earnings tomorrow. I was speaking with Brian Weiser of Pivotal Research last week. He said he's still waiting to see anything concrete from Marissa Mayer in terms of a real strategy. What's your, assessment of her strategy so far? We've heard a lot about the potential for partnerships, but when does the rubber meet the road?
Well, she still has probably another couple quarters, and she'll probably talk with her big themes as far as mobile and more technology and quality of products too. So those are kind of the three pillars that she's on. So we're probably not going to see a whole lot more. There's been some rumors about Apple and Yahoo potentially getting together. That's not going to displace search. Apple's not going to. I would be shocked if they replaced Google as the default within Safari. But you could see something on the content side because Yahoo has some really great content with sports and finance. So I think that as far as Marissa's concerned, the good news is she's still in the honeymoon phase, and it's probably going to last for a couple quarters. Investors don't really own it for that. What they own it for is Alibaba, and that Asian asset continues to escalate in value.